Good morning, everyone. So I thought I would just have a little chat with you guys while I'm getting ready for the day. Just need to get the mirror in the right spot. So I just wanted to chat with you about some of the ways that I sort of prepare for the upcoming year and like mindset shifts that I think are important to make if you just really want to have like your best year ever. Like, I think sometimes the interesting thing is like, I feel like sometimes this time of year you really start to see people on Instagram be like, oh, there's only this much of the year left, so that means that you need to really get your shit together, or like XYZ. And it's like, I think it's really putting this kind of pressure on yourself isn't really that helpful, because it's like the year doesn't end in December and the year doesn't start in January. Like, yes, it technically does on the calendar start, but I mean, not to get too woo about it, but I'm like, time is like a human invention. Like, the way that we've set up the calendar, that is like a human invention. Like, if you really think about it, like, to me, my best friend is an astrologer, and like she always kind of says like that she doesn't really celebrate the start of the new year until like the astrological new year, which is like the start of Aries season. And that makes a lot more sense to me, because like, especially if you live in the northern hemisphere, like December 31st, it's like the dark of winter, or like you're just kind of like closing out the previous year, and it doesn't necessarily always feel like the most aligned energy to be starting like new projects or your new goals or whatever it is that you're wanting to start in the next year. It's not energetically really like the best time, and of course, like, we don't want to use that as an excuse, but it's also like paying attention to the energy and the timing of things, like, it does matter. And like, of course, like when spring starts, it's definitely a more exciting time to kind of be like starting something new. And of course, like, I think a lot of people, like, they make like resolutions, and they're like, this year I'm gonna do XYZ. So I just wanted to share a little bit about, like, most people don't stick with their resolutions. They kind of like put stuff out there, like they're like, oh, I want to lose weight, or oh, I want to find a partner, and then they kind of give up on it like very quickly. And so the thing about goal setting is like, at uni we talk about like setting SMART goals, and I guess if you've been in kind of the business space for a while, you'll be familiar with this. So SMART goals are basically, you have to make your goals specific. Like, you can't just be like, I want to lose weight. It's like, I want to lose 10 kilos or whatever the number is, but like, it has to be specific. Or I want to fit into this pair of jeans, or whatever it is. And then it has to be measurable, which is like, it kind of builds on that first point. It's like, the thing about like goals and the thing about your mind is like, if it doesn't know exactly what you're talking about, it's very hard for it to go towards it. Like, if you're just like, I want to lose weight, it's like, one, the mind doesn't like the idea of loss. So if you are trying to lose weight, it's better to say like, I want to slim down, or I'm shedding this weight, because like, to your mind, loss is always a bad thing, and so it kind of wants to hold on to things more. So the languaging that you use with your mind is really, really important, because your mind uses the words that you're saying to it to see how you're feeling about things. So when you're setting your goals, it has to be specific, it has to be measurable. Like, you have to be like, yes, I know that I've done this when I've done it. Like, say if you're like, I'm prepping for a marathon, you're like, yes, I know I've run the marathon when I've run the marathon. It has to be achievable. So what do I mean by that? Of course, research shows us that the best goals are somewhat of a stretch. They're a little bit of a challenge, but they're still like relatively realistic. And I always say relatively, because it's like, of course I want to tell people to dream big, but when you're goal setting, it's actually a lot more advantageous. Instead of going from like 0 to 1,000 and being like, I want to be a billionaire next year, that's like a lot for your mind to get through, and it seems really unachievable. But if you're like, I want to make $10,000 this month, that's like a step goal towards your bigger goal. And at the end of the day, like, a big goal is just like lots of mini goals kind of broken down into things that you can do at this point in time. So when we say it's achievable, we mean that like it has to be something relatively achievable. Like, say for me, for example, I'm like, okay, say my goal is like a 6.5 GPA at uni, which is really like in Australia it's a bit different because we have like a 7-point GPA rating system. So my goal is always like a 6 and above. But like 6.5 is kind of my stretch goal because I'm like, well, I've achieved it before, but it's definitely like it takes a lot of work to get to that point in time. So that's what I sort of mean by achievable. Like, it has to be like sort of achievable to your mind, and especially in a smaller time frame. Like, of course it's great to have like a goal for the overall year, but it's also really good to kind of break that down into monthly goals and then break that down even more into weekly things, so you always know what you're working on next. It doesn't leave any room for like misinterpretation, or your mind like deciding the goal is too hard and it like bails on it. Oh, every time I try and talk, I get that in my mouth. It's not a good taste. The last one is relevant. Not the last one, the second last one is relevant. So your goal has to be relevant towards like what you're trying to achieve. Some people say it's relevant and some people say it's realistic. It depends on like whose definition you're looking up at that point in time. But it's like, yeah, the goal has to be relevant to what you're trying to achieve, which seems pretty self-explanatory. And the last one is time bound. So you have to give yourself a time frame to work within. Otherwise it's like I don't know if you've noticed this, but like work really expands to fit the time frame that you give it. So like if you're like, I'm gonna take 6 months to do this, it takes you 6 months. But if you're like, I need to finish this in a month, it'll get done in a month. So yeah, setting SMART goals for yourself, that's like the first thing that's really going to help set you up for success for the next year. And like, I like to do like yearly goals, and then I also each month I'll kind of make sort of monthly goals on the fly. So when it is like the beginning of the year, I really like to use like Capricorn season to set the foundation of where I want to go. Like, kind of really, it's a really great time for like taking stock of like what worked really well this year, what didn't work so well, what would I do differently next time, how can I use this information towards like setting up the foundation for what I want to achieve in the next year. Sorry, I'm just gonna blend this out. And then sorry, we just gotta get a good blend here because nobody wants no like weird harsh lines in their contour. So, and then once January shows up, it can be a really good time to kind of be like, okay, like what have I learned and how can I use this towards what I am doing in the next year. And then the other thing that is really important, and the mindset shifts you really need to make, are like, this is like the biggest one, and it's so simple, but it definitely takes a lot of like, not practice, but it takes a lot of presence. Like, you have to be mindful, and this is like the way that you speak to yourself and the way that you speak about the things that you want, because your mind doesn't have an opinion about what you say, whether it's right or wrong. It's just taking in everything that you're saying to it, and it's like looking to show you proof that that's true. So if you're out here being like, wow, it is so hard to have a business, it's so hard to do this, it's so hard to achieve XYZ, then your mind's like, okay, this thing is really hard, and like, we don't want to have to do anything that's too hard, so like, we're gonna maybe make you really distracted, or you're gonna start procrastinating, or you're gonna find that you're not motivated to do those things. And like, your mind is also just looking to prove you was right. So if you start telling yourself like, wow, it's really hard to do this thing, your mind's like, okay, it's hard to do this thing, let me just show you more and more evidence that it's hard to do this thing. So, or like the other one that I really notice people doing a lot is like, if they make a mistake and they'll be like, oh, I'm such an idiot. And it's like, if you watch this vlog and you walk away with changing one thing, it's like, please never call yourself that. Like, please never speak to yourself in a way that's derogatory, because this just eats away at your self-esteem, because then your mind always wants to answer the question. If you're like, why am I such an idiot? Then your mind is like, I have an answer for you, and it will show you all the proof. So it's really important to like, speak to yourself kindly. Like, be like, why am I so smart? Why am I so good at this? Why do I always figure things out? And then your mind will start showing you things and being like, oh, you are so smart at this. You are so good at this. You always figure it out. and it sounds weird at first, especially if you're not used to doing this as a practice. You know your girl loves some setting spray. So it can feel weird if that's not what you're used to doing, but I promise if you change one thing that you do in the new year, like let it be that, and it will transform your whole life. Because your mind always is just, that's like one of the basic rules of the mind, is your mind is just always trying to like show you what you believe, and so you have to start telling it that you believe something better, and you have to start speaking to yourself in a different way and asking yourself better questions. And if you do that alone, that will shift like your entire mindset next year. The next thing is, I would really encourage you to be mindful of the people that you spend your time around, because one of the big things I noticed is like people who have never done what you're trying to do, or maybe they had a dream and they gave up on it, they're not ever going to be like supportive of you. So it's like, I shouldn't say they're never going to be supportive of you, but like sometimes people can be like, oh, why would you do that? There's no money doing that. Or like, wouldn't, like one of the things that really stands out to me is I had this friend, and this was a couple years ago when I was kind of newer in my business, and I was thinking of adding like a certain offer, and like I was new to that thing, but I knew that I knew more than like the average lay person, and I knew I could help people with that thing, and I knew I would get better as I did it more and more. I don't offer this as a service, but it's just part of the story. And I told a friend that I was kind of thinking of doing this, and she was like, oh, like why wouldn't people hire someone who's better at that thing than you, or who have more experience? And it just was like such a blow to the gut, and it really like, it hurt my confidence, because then that voice kind of started playing out in my head as well. I think the camera stopped filming partway through because that was a bit of a long rant. But yeah, to me those are the most important mindset shifts that you really need to make in order to achieve your goals this year. And I could obviously keep talking about this subject forever because it's very important to me. If you want to hear like, I guess, more of what I've got to say on it, comment below, let me know, and I will make it a podcast episode. And we can chat about this a little bit more. But the things that are really important that I just wanted to highlight is like really like creating smart goals for yourself, like making your circle like small, only surrounding yourself with people who are really going to believe in your dream and are going to hype you up, and like just having like high standards for the people that you have around you. Okay, while we were at it, I was just gonna show you my blonde hair care routine. Ever since going blonde, I feel like having this hair color is definitely like a higher maintenance hair color. But I found some things that I feel like have helped keep it like really nice and bright. If you have not tried a microfiber hair towel, that was really hard to say, a microfiber hair towel, you need to get one because basically it just like dries your hair faster. Like I'll usually just chuck it up like when I'm doing my makeup, like you just saw, and it just like gets all the extra moisture out, so you don't have to like rub on your hair, which is bad for your hair, especially if it's blonde, because it creates a lot of like friction and breakage. So microfiber hair towel for sure. And then the other thing that has been so amazing for my hair has been the like Redken acidic bonding range. I'll link it in the links below, but I use like everything from them. I use like their shampoo, I use their conditioner, they have like a treatment, a pre-shampoo treatment that you put on your hair for 10 minutes before you shampoo. I do that like once a week. I use that. And then also they have like a leave-in treatment as well, that you put it on your hair, and it also works as like a heat protectant, and then you do that before like you blow dry and stuff, and it has honestly like transformed my hair. Like it's just made it so much better, so much stronger. It like repairs the bonds in your hair, so it's really, but it never like weighs it down or feels heavy, because I have like quite fine hair, and the wrong products can really make it look really greasy really fast. So yeah, obsessed. I've been using it for like a year. The other thing I use like on blonde is like the Finola blue shampoo. Sometimes I use purple shampoo. It's just kind of whatever I reach for in the shower. But I'll do this like once a week. I'll just leave it in for like 4 to 5 minutes, and then it just helps keep your blonde like nice and bright. But it doesn't, if you have really light blonde, it keeps it from going like purple or kind of like ashy looking if you don't want it to be like that, if you just want it to be like nice and bright. So those are my go-tos. And like, since going blonde, I feel like my hair routine has definitely become a little bit more involved, but I only wash my hair like once or twice a week. If it's really sweaty at dance class, sometimes it gets kind of gross, so you sort of have to wash it like twice a week. But I try not to heat style it aside from just like when I blow dry it, and yeah, it seems to be doing pretty good, so that's good. I really want to, I'm trying to go a bit lighter too, so I'm like, I really want to keep my hair like healthy as well. And then this is the Brio Geo Don't Despair Repair Strengthening Hair Oil. So I'll put this on like just a little bit like before I blow dry it, and then yeah, this stuff has been amazing because it doesn't really weigh your hair down. It smells so good. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like a fruity, like florally scent, but not like overly sweet. I don't really like overly sweet fragrances, but yeah, all those have been really good for just like keeping my hair in really good condition. And then I swear this is like a 50-step hair care routine. I started using this when I first got my extensions out. So it's like a scalp treatment. So basically you just like, I just kind of go like that and it's just supposed to help with your hair growth, but I find it also helps really like strengthen your hair, like especially if you have like finer hair like me, or you had like a bit of damage. There's definitely like some new patches where I started to see like regrowth. So I know they tell you your hair can't, that you can't actually make your hair grow faster, but I did really notice a difference after using this for like 3 months. You can use it on your hair wet or dry, and you just like rub it into your scalp and it helps like strengthen the hair. So yeah, I'll link it all in my Amazon storefront below. So if you have blonde hair, or you just have some really damaged hair and you want to strengthen it, all of these products are amazing. I've been using them for like, some of them a year, some of them like 6 months, and they've all made such a difference. I know people say not to brush your hair when it's wet, but I kind of am like, this is like a really nice brush. Got it when I had extensions in, but there's so much product in my hair, it doesn't really stick when I brush through it. And I find that if I try and blow dry it without brushing it through, like you just end up getting like a really tangled mess, and nobody wants that. Hair drying brush, this thing is actually amazing. Like, it just gives you like an instant like blowout look. You can flick your hair in, you can flick it out, like it just looks like you've come from the salon, and it takes like 2 seconds. It's so easy. Like, I never really need to straighten my hair after using this. It just like finishes it, and it looks so good, and it holds for like a good couple days too. Like for me, it would probably hold longer if I didn't go to dance class. But yeah, this thing is just like the best thing ever to save yourself like time and just like make it so your hair looks really good, and it's like not a lot of effort, which I'm all about. Like that said, I would definitely recommend like making sure your hair is quite dry before you start using it, because like if you tried to like just go in and dry your whole head with that, I think it would take a little longer. So I would definitely recommend make sure your hair is like, I don't know, like 70% dry before you start using it, and it just makes life a lot easier. And we are done. Super easy. I'm like really loving the short hair life, just because it's like it's just so much easier to take care of. And it's like, I never thought that I would go short again after I got my extensions out like it's probably a bit longer now. I think I got them out in like June or July, and ever since, and then I was like, I'm never cutting my hair short again. I just want to grow it out. And then here we are, short hair again. But I'm just waiting for like these fringe bits to grow out, which is, it's been a journey, I will tell you that. But yeah, super easy. And this usually lasts like, I only do my hair like once or twice a week, so we're all about like, how can we make things easier on ourselves by like doing the work once and hopefully like letting it last a really long time, so you don't have to keep doing it. You don't have to think about it either, because like as much as I love like beauty and hair stuff, I also don't like it when stuff is like finicky. Like I don't like it when you always have to be like messing with something, or you have to be constantly touching it up. Like I'm so not a fan of that. I'm like, I just want to do it once, set it, forget it, and then like live my life.